We begin with the Seeker, who arrives in Trixion, an all-seeing domain located within a rift of space-time, where she meets Beatrice, an angelic Lazanith who watches over Arcasia, the world of order and light, which is powered by the Ark, a relic which has been split into 7 pieces and spread across its lands. With the goal of collecting the Ark's shard pieces and reassembling it, in order to drive back the encroaching forces of chaos and darkness, Beatrice sends the Seeker to Trua, the Forgotten Land. Together with Morpheus, priest of the Sacrian Order, a religion which seeks the eradication of all demons in Arcasia, she discovers a lost prophecy, which points her to Prideholme, a town within Mithramus, a federation united by faith. After parting ways with Morpheus, his true identity is revealed to be the demon Carmine, who possesses the ability to absorb the powers of other demons. On her way to Prideholme, the Seeker meets Armin, a Sacrian priest who's traveling the world, healing people. At Prideholme, the Seeker learns of Arcasia's history, that it was created by the god Regulus, who also created Petrania, an opposite world of darkness, to balance the forces of the universe. On Petrania, Kazaros, Lord of the Abyss, created the Red Moon, a counterpart to Arcasia's sun, and formed an army of demon legions, which he used to invade Arcasia through a dimensional rift between the two worlds in an event called the Chain War. Ultimately, 7 heroes, known as the Sidereals, Azina, Lutera, Cien, Nineveh, Kadan, Galator, and Shandi, used the Ark to close the rift and imprison Kazaros beneath a volcano before separating and hiding the 7 Ark shards across Arcasia. At Prideholme's cathedral, the Seeker and Armin confront Carmine, who reappears, with Armin transforming and using a demonic power to defeat him, causing him to retreat. Afterward, Armin explains that he's a Delane, a half-human, half-demon race, originally created during the Chain War, and that each time he transforms, he risks succumbing to chaos. Completing the Stone Tablet of Revelations, the Seeker learns of King Lutera's Ark Shard, called Asta, the Ark of Trust, which leads her east, through Eudia, into West Lutera, where she meets Prince Thirain, descendant of the late King Lutera and rightful heir to the throne, currently in the midst of a war to reclaim Lutera Castle. In East Lutera, the Seeker, Thirain, and Armin storm and retake Lutera Castle with an army, defeating Vultan, one of Kazaros' demon commanders, whose energy is absorbed by Carmine before he escapes. With newly crowned King Thirain's assistance, the Seeker locates King Lutera's tomb, where she meets his spirit, who bestows Asta upon her, which she leaves in Beatrice's care back at Trixion. Meanwhile, Kazaros orders his remaining Demon Legion commanders, Thameen of Darkness, Akan of Plague, Belshazzar of Phantom, Kakul Sadon of Mayhem, Vicus of Covetous, and Carmine, who's now taken the place of Vultan of Beast, to invade all of Arcasia's continent simultaneously. The Seeker encounters Shandi, accompanied by his protege, Zinnervale, together discovering that Kakul Sadon's behind a local outbreak of madness, ultimately leading the Seeker and Armin to battle him shortly before he escapes and encounters Carmine, who absorbs his energy, leaving only a small portion of his essence within his clown doll. Sacrian priests arrive and begin a holy inquisition, concluding that the local townsfolk are corrupted by demonic forces and must be executed. The townsfolk flee the Sacrians, who corner them at the edge of a cliff, where Armin intervenes in an attempt to protect the people, but is overpowered, resulting in their deaths. Enraged, Armin transforms, using his demonic power to exterminate the entire Sacrian chapter before Carmine reappears, convincing Armin to escape with him through a portal back to Petrania. Departing Lutera, the Seeker first sails to Tortoik Island, the body of the sleeping stone elemental giant Tortoik, home to the Makokos, a race of miniature fairies, whom she works with to heal Tortoik's wounds before entering its body and receiving the second Ark Shard, known as Ortus, the Ark of Creation, hidden there by Nineveh, which she then delivers to Beatrice. Arriving at Shanghoon and Annika, she participates in a martial arts tournament, defeating each opponent, from the 9th Sword of Shanghoon to the First Sword, a conjurer named Habek, who's working with demons in exchange for power. After defeating him and becoming the new First Sword of Shanghoon, the Seeker accompanies Sidereal Wei, successor of Cien, together battling Vicus, before she escapes. After finding a scroll left behind by Cien, which reveals that his Ark Shard isn't in Annika, the Seeker continues on to Arthatine, a city-state of machines built in the desert, inhabited by the technocratic Psychian race. Meeting with 2 of the 3 leaders of Arthatine in the capital of Stern, Administrator Bastion and Treasurer Sasha, the Seeker learns of the Verdant Tier, a giant tower built to turn the desert into a lush green wilderness, and she's appointed to the position of inspector, assisting with thwarting terrorist plots, investigating sabotage technology, and tracking down the 3rd, rebellious leader, who is responsible for the incidents, technologist Kraus. Learning of Kraus's plot to harness the power of the Verdant Tier to make himself into a mechanical god, as part of a misguided attempt to protect Arthatine from demons, after seeing a prophecy of its destruction through Agaton, the Ark of Prescience, hidden there by Galator, the Seeker confronts and kills Kraus just after his transformation. Receiving Agaton as a reward for her assistance, the Seeker entrusts it to Beatrice before departing to the continent of Vern, making landfall in North Vern. Finding it under attack by a necromancer named Sigmund, along with his demon beast, Garum, both of whom were killed 100 years earlier by Thar, a knight who's also been resurrected by the forces of chaos, the Seeker allies with him, informing Queen Elin, Vern's ruler and an exiled Sylvain, or elf-like mage, along with Knight Commander Avel, of the situation. Joining the local adventurers guild, led by Guildmaster Gideon, in order to gain access to the Balankar Mountains, where Sigmund and Garum are wreaking havoc, Thar and the Seeker track down and defeat them, before she reports back to Elin, who directs her to the frozen land of Shushire, where Shandi is rumored to be headed. Arriving and speaking to Shandi, the Seeker learns that the locals are being forced into slave labor by a magnate called Vrad, with some being kidnapped and sold in the shadow market, causing a resistance group known as the Daybreakers, led by a man named Madnik, to fight back against the oppression. Teaming up with Madnik, the Seeker learns that Vrad is in league with demons, and after defeating him, he summons Akon out of desperation, who kills him before proceeding to the Maze of Mirrors, where Elpon, the Ark of Hope, was hidden by Shandi. Following after Akon, the Seeker catches up to and defeats him, before he escapes, freeing the people of Shushire along with claiming Elpon, which she brings to Beatrice. Heading next to the western continent of Rowendell, homeland of the Sylvains, the Seeker meets with Flamekeeper Gerdia, who leads her to talk to Turin of the Bambiri, natives of Rowendell, who then introduces her to Oven, an outcast Sylvain mage. After an audience with Azina, who's also the queen of Rowendell's Sylvains, the Seeker learns that she possesses a second soul, named Anana, and that the two share the same body, before being asked by Azina to assist her in determining the source of a magic eruption incident. Together with Turin, Oven, and Lenora, another Sylvain mage, the Seeker discovers that Gerdia and Nefernia, the ancient flame elemental, are being controlled by Belshazzar, leading them to cause the magic-related incidents and attack the other elementals, with the ultimate goal of destroying Elzuin, the divine tree, and stealing Radek, the Ark of Wisdom, which was hidden within it by Azina. Battling alongside Azina at Elzuin, the Seeker defeats Belshazzar, who escapes before being gifted Radek and proceeding to return with it to Trixion. Venturing south to the continent of Yorn, the kingdom of the Umars, a dwarf-like race of miners and blacksmiths, the Seeker again meets up with Shandi, who introduces her to his friend, Balthor, the descendant of Galater. Teaming up with Balthor to repair Arcturus' light, the energy source of Yorn's underground great castle, at King Caesar's behest, the Seeker discovers that the damage to it, along with a series of murders, have been caused by the demon sword, Velcruz, which possesses its wielder while seeking to further empower itself by absorbing souls. Together with Balthor, the Seeker destroys Velcruz, causing it to shatter into pieces, which are afterward reassembled by Carmine, who's able to overpower the sword's control, taking it for his own. In Phaeton, the Seeker joins the Avesta, a group of demon hunter assassins led by a Delane named Zyka, and after assisting an Avesta member called Levi with navigating a series of conflicts between them and the Sacrian Order, led by Priest Jederico, both factions unite to battle Thameen and his army of demons. To protect everyone present, Zyka absorbs Thameen's demonic magic into himself, forcing the Seeker to kill him to prevent his transformation into a demon, afterward receiving a letter that Zyka wrote from the new Avesta leader, Kaldor, directing her to the swamp location of Carta, the Ark of Devotion, hidden by Cien, where she obtains and transports it to Beatrice. In Punica, the Seeker saves the local leader of Nia village, Matriarch Nia, from Kakul Sadon, who has regained a fraction of his strength and is again plaguing the local people and creatures with madness, along with his invading demon army. Teaming up with Shauna, a Punica warrior, the Seeker interrupts Kakul Sadon while he's regaining his power by draining the Seed of Harmony, Punica's source of power and life, the process of which awakens Albion, an ancient guardian who fought in the Chain War. Kakul Sadon corrupts Albion with his demonic magic, allowing him to escape while Albion attacks Nia village, and after the Seeker defends it, Nia is able to pacify Albion by singing the Song of Peace, which was passed down to her from the village's previous rulers, and afterward, the village celebrates with the Lelai Festival. Returning to North Vern and again meeting with Elin, she informs the Seeker that a rift has appeared in the sky above South Vern, where the Senate, which is currently seeking to overthrow Elin, has created an order of soldiers called the Black Knights, leading her to dispatch Avel there to investigate. The Seeker visits Gideon to request a guide to South Vern. He introduces her to Zirion, a former member of Thar's Solar Knights, and while the two follow Avel's trail, they learn that the Black Knights have been corrupted by demons, which the Senate are working with. The Senate's goal is to perform a ritual in order to destroy the magical barrier protecting Vern, allowing the demons to invade through the rift, in exchange for granting them more power. Upon reuniting with Avel and Thar, he reforms the Solar Knights, sending word to his former soldiers, Hardam, Kiesa, and Ludwig, who together attempt to stop the Senate's ritual, but fail, resulting in the arrival of the demon commanders, who betray the Senate members, killing them. As a last resort to save the group, Zirion teleports them to safety, remaining behind alone, where he's killed by Vicus. Assembling all of our allies from a journey across Arcasia into a massive alliance army, the Seeker faces off in a war against countless demons which emerge through rifts at the Raelvar plains, during which an enormous Chaos Gate rift opens, through which the Throne of Chaos, a demonic tower, emerges and descends, anchored by Petronia's chains. Fighting her way through the demon hordes to the tower, the Seeker again battles Carmine, while our allies attack the other commanders, ultimately succeeding in closing the Chaos Gate by destroying its tethered chains, only for Belshazzar to open several more huge rifts throughout all of Arcasia. Afterward, the commanders disperse, beginning the true invasion of Arcasia in earnest, leading the Alliance to officially form into the Arcasia Allied Forces, with the united purpose of closing all rifts by tracking down and destroying the commanders. The Seeker returns to Trixion to ask about the location of the final Arc Shard, which will allow for the completion of the Arc, to banish the forces of chaos, and Beatrice tells her that it'll reveal itself when the time comes.